Well, it looks like we made it. About that. That was quite an accomplishment in and of itself. Let me up the microphone game here. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I think I know what happened. There was some weird discrepancy between the Facebook transmission and the YouTube transmission because I do both. Although I'm not sure how many people actually watch me on Facebook, maybe one or two. But yeah, so there was some weird incompatibility between the two this morning, and then for whatever reason, StreamYard rejected my thumbnail because it was too big. Although last night it wasn't too big when I uploaded it. So I don't, I don't pretend to have all the answers in life. And in this moment, clearly I have none as to why the machine elves decided to do a little merry prankster dance on the show this morning. Anyway, how is everyone? We're back. Yes, I'm blueing out today. I am blue. My love is blue. Who sang that song? Who was the composer of that song? Blue, my love is blue. Do you know who it was? I'll tell you who it was. It was Paul Moriarty. How did I know that? It's because that's what my parents listened to when they would play it on the radio. And they would back announce. Let me show you one of the greatest high blood pressure medicines in the world. Right here, I am going to change your life. Okay? I'm going to change your life. It is this stuff called Muktavati. Don't even ask me how it works. I'm scared. I'm kind of scared to really understand why. But you buy it from India, and it's like super fucking cheap. And I remember going around and looking like, oh, what's good for high blood pressure? What's good for high blood pressure? And this Muktavati stuff started showing up. And I'm like, okay, let me give it a whirl, right? Because when you get stuff from India, there's almost always a lot of hype. And how could it ever live up to the hype? Well, let me tell you, these two little brown pills. I'm gonna take one right here and one right here with coffee. Let me tell you how good they work. Normally, when I go to the doctor, they do the old blood pressure. It's pretty elevated. And it's usually when I forget to take the Muktavati, where I get the elevated rating. I take the Muktavati and I go get my blood pressure checked. And they're like, wow, that's pretty good. Now, I don't know how this shit works. I'm being completely and utterly honest. But somehow it does. And I'm not sure I want to know. Now, the other thing, too, is that, as you can tell, I've had a few Muktavatis. It kind of tastes a little bit like if you were to ingest incense. That's kind of what it tastes like. And I don't know how long it would be for like 3 or 4 months. But for stretches, when I want to get my blood pressure. You get a box of it for like $6 from India. This shit works. I can't explain why. I don't know. I'm not sure I want to know why, but it works because I always get the same look. That's pretty good. Yeah, it's because I'm Mukhtavadi in your ass. That's why. Can I? I'm going to spell it right out here. Mukta Vati. I'm telling you, you read up on it, right? You read up on it in Amazon or whatever, and you will. A lot of times, these reviews are just completely phony, fake bullshit, whatever. But pretty consistent, I got to say. The old Mukhtavadi blood pressure. I shall jot that one down. Yes, I am happy to bring my health insights to you. Now, I'm working on a new one, and I'm going to tell you as soon as I get it. I'm going to tell you how it works, because I'm into alternative solutions. I'm Mr. Alternative. I was alternative before alternative was cool. Let me. So theoretically, I have AFib, right? Oh, he has AFib, and I'm just like, I'm not down. I'm not down with the whole idea of AFib. Well, you have to take beta blockers, and you have to do this, and you have to do that, and I'm like, really? Do I have to? So I found this new herbal medicine, Chinese, for AFib. And I bought some. It hasn't arrived yet, but it's called Wenjing Kelly. Wenjing Kelly. And there are papers that have been done on it. This is from the website Online Journal of Cardiology. They're actually giving it a very good review. So let me see if I can find it here. Welcome to Health with Robert. Hi, this is Robert Phoenix, and today we'll be discussing all the ailments that go along with aging. So this is the stuff right here. Wenjin Kelly. It is a Chinese herbal medicine primarily used for treating cardiac arrhythmia, including atrial fibrillation. It's got 5 key ingredients: the Nardostachys chinesis batai or batal extract, Codonopsis, no to ginseng, just say no to ginseng, amber, and Rhizoma polygodini or polygodini. WXKL has been shown to be effective in improving symptoms like palpitation, chest tightness, and fatigue. It has been approved in China as the first, right there, as the first treatment for AFib. And guess what? And you can buy it. So I got me some of this Wenjing Kelly. I don't know where I got it, but I picked some up. Let's see. It should be on its way. But anyway, that's been my life. That has been my life. Looking into these alternative Wenjin Kelly, Amazon. You get on Amazon. Let's see. I guess you can get a liquid extract. I don't know where I got it. Yeah, here it is. This is what I got right here. Right here. Wenjing Kelly. Chinese herbs fascinate me. They totally fascinate me. So this is some of the Wenjing Kelly. Remember, I'm not a doctor, but these are some of your Wenjing Kelly options right here. I think I got this one right there. So anyway, I'll let you know how it goes. The Muktavadi is a fucking secret weapon, I'm telling you. If you haven't discovered Muktavadi, you'll thank me. You just have to get the, I don't know, incense taste down. That should be fine. Steve is surprised he can type without coffee. All right. Try typing without your fingers. That's the next level. You get to type without your fingers, and we are having a conversation. Desley Logham's here. Hi, Desley. And I like your alternative approach. Diane, I'm all about the alternative. Because the alternative to the alternative is not a good alternative. Barbara's got to go now. Oh, boo-hoo. Boo-hoo, Barbara Boots. Have a good day. Have a very good day. Dead Wolf says, just put me in timeout before I talk about anything. It's all right, man. You just let it out. We're here for you. You know, we're here for all the disaffected people of the world. I'm serious. This is why we exist. If you have a problem with any particular race or group or religion or sex, you got a problem with any of those people, you can just bring it right here. Just let it all hang out. Everybody, there is an equal opportunity misanthropic kind of vibe here, right? We don't judge your love. We don't judge your hate. We're non-judgmental. So if you have to let it out, just go ahead and let it out and make sure that you say this is not Robert Phoenix's actual position on my position, and we'll be fine. No, I'm just kidding. There we go. Look up sunlight circadian rhythm, mitochondria health, volumes of info. Yes. Sunlight circadian rhythms. I've been going to bed earlier. You'd be Carol and Moore, you'd be proud of me. Let's see. They got a brain hit for that. Hard pass. Killian Hart Rosie's here at the Berry Farm. Couldn't see the spelling of your second suggestion. The spelling is Wenjin Kelly. Wenjin Kelly. Some of you might be aware of the fact that I'm an excellent researcher. And I find things. Did anybody see the Pleiadian meteors last night? Ever since I saw the Day of the Triffids, I now have a I would say much larger than needed fear of meteors. Let's see. Here we go. Let's get into some weather. Changes, changes. About the weather. The chain of events. All right, here we go. That is a good looking chart. Look at that. We got a nice grand trine there. Mars, Pluto, Uranus. Get with the program. Move into the future. You know, I've been tracking a lot of the post Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes thing. And usually when somebody like Nick Fuentes breaks out, and like I've known about him for years, he's always been kind of on the fringe. He's a fringy guy. You know, he's really, really bright. He's articulate. He has every single. Do you know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of William F. Buckley's worst nightmare. And there's a great episode of Crossfire with William F. Buckley and Allen Ginsberg. And Allen Ginsberg is demanding that William F. Buckley allow him to use all the language, all the words at his disposal so that he doesn't have to feel as though he's being filtered or censored, and that the full totality of his brain and the possibility of language is at his disposal. And you have to also remember that that show, Crossfire, was on PBS. So there were certain things you couldn't say, right? Like if Allen Ginsberg was wondering about, you know, the curve of a young man's back and using it as a metaphor of the kind of the white sloping, sweeping sands of the deserts outside of Morocco, where the soft paleness of the equatorial sun beamed down upon this pure, white, eternal, everlasting tide of sand, and how it reminded him of the rising tide of the rising tide of the clavicle of the 14-year-old boy who lay down on his stomach poolside, and how it pulled him back to those special days in Morocco with blonde sand and blue skies and bleached memories, right? Like that would be an Allen Ginsberg kind of moment on William F. Buckley. But they don't go there because the speech is not allowable in that regard. Nick Fuentes, on the other hand, doesn't have any of those constraints. He can say fuck you as much as he wants on his show because it is not being censored by YouTube or the networks or whomever, right? So Nick Fuentes has a full arsenal of weapons at his disposal when it comes to language. So I think that that's actually like really important, just in terms of his ability to say things. That in and of itself, right? And you can see this here. The reason I'm bringing it up is this grand trine with Mars. And so there are times when people have something going on in their chart, and it is either a major opening or a series of transits that are all pointing towards breakthrough. And you know, the converse can happen as well. And some people can have some very, very limiting transits, and they have to learn and get through them. You know, that life shit, right? So it might be interesting to revisit Fuentes's chart just to try to look at how a chart in a moment of time. Hold on. Lines up, and you can see this absolute breakthrough, right? And we don't live in a time of rock stars anymore. Again, whatever you think of him, maybe he's a Fed, maybe he's a weird little queer guy living. I don't know the full and complete and utter story about Nick Fuentes, except that he definitely was trying to get people to go into the White House with his megaphone. But he would be the equivalent of the Sex Pistols. That's who he is. He's the equivalent of the Sex Pistols. It is Nick Fuentes is punk rock. And that's what makes him very appealing. Because when you look at people like, we'll go with like Tucker Carlson or Matt Walsh or maybe Candace, Charlie Kirk. When you look at those people, we'll throw Dave Rubin in there, Chad Prather. When you look at those people, they're the equivalent of like the rock establishment circa like 1976. I mean, literally, Tucker Carlson is the Grateful Dead. That's who he is. He's a deadhead. He went on tour with the Dead. And by the time 1976 rolls around, they're dinosaurs. And yes, their legacy will continue and they'll have their hardcore following, but as a group that evolves, takes on new material, new genre, new styles of influence. They had some, but it wasn't like all of a sudden the Grateful Dead says, "Hey, let's make an entire jazz fusion record." And I'm not talking Terrapin Station. We're talking like, like Dixie Dregs or something like that. Let's do that. Or why don't we incorporate some of these other somebody, Bob Weir really likes Joy Division. It's like, I'm really digging this Joy Division stuff. Maybe we can bring a little Joy Division into they just don't do that. Like, they are who they are. They have their thing. They are known for were known for their improvisation. So they're a dinosaur. But that's like Tucker Carlson, right? That's Tucker. And then you have somebody like, I don't know, like Matt Walsh. He's like the Eagles. Maybe he's like the Eagles with a little bit more bite. But they're all like established sort of legacy musical artists. They sell out all the tours. They get big crowds. They're the equivalent. And I'm not saying like Charlie Kirk is the equivalent of Aerosmith, but in some ways he is. We can go back into the 90s when Aerosmith was making a bit of a comeback, and they were selling out all these major stadiums because that's what they did. Charlie Kirk will do that. He'll go into town and do a CP USA thing or whatever and sell out all these. I mean, so who the rock establishment is. Ben Shapiro's like the rock is that he's like the Dylan. He's like a way less talented Dylan. And I don't know what you would call Jordan Peterson at this point. Is he like the Nick Drake of no, Nick Drake is way too talented. But you know what I mean? These people are like the rock establishment. Along comes Nick Fuentes, and he's Johnny Rotten. He's the fucking Sex Pistols. And the reason why, in a lot of ways, he is so popular is because there was a time when people actually made music. Even if you're like a Dylan head and you're into the protest songs of the late 60s, I'm sorry, the early 60s. That's how the message was communicated to the people. It was generally through music coming out of the folk legacy was a protest music. And it was a combination of kind of Appalachian folk music and sort of Black spiritual music, and coming together and singing about, you know, better times. There were harder times. This is sort of the birthplace of, like, stylistically, like Woody Guthrie. Like that was and that's how you didn't necessarily, I mean, yeah, you had political figures, clearly, but give me like one Woody Guthrie, dusty and singing ballads about this land is your land, this land is my land, and then one populist politician or 5 populist politicians or 10 or 100. I'll take Woody Guthrie every day of the week because he reaches people's souls. It's not just rhetoric. It's not just some kind of polemic. You know, he's reaching in, he's saying, yeah, you're right. This land is your land. This belongs to us. You know, and we need to take literally ownership of it, because that's really what he's talking about. But that stopped happening. Like there was a period where that was, you know, fairly commonplace. And I think maybe Dylan shut that down a little bit, but music and the content moved into kind of, you know, more abstract kinds of questions about life, like Dark Side of the Moon. It's all about life and death, right? That's what it's about. It's like you reach this peak, which they did, you make all this money, and then you realize that once you've gotten there, it's almost like you're on the clock. So you have songs like Time and things like this. But music lost its ability to do that until you get to the Sex Pistols. And when you get to the Sex Pistols, well, all of a sudden you got a bit of a different message now, don't you? God Save the Queen, Anarchy in the UK. I mean, some of those songs are turning the English establishment on its head. And this is why Fuentes is popular. Is it because he has a message that rings truer to certain people now that they're ready to hear it? Or is he more along the lines of like a Johnny Lydon, a Johnny Rotten, but without bass drums and guitar behind them? I think that's more the case. Because I think Fuentes is definitely punk rock. Like, he's more punk rock than Jello Biafra could ever be over 3 lifetimes. And we can see this with this Mars-Uranus trine, Mars-Pluto trine. This is the energy of that grand trine. And does it directly impact Nick Fuentes? Our guy, Nice Light, he did a rectification of Fuentes' chart and put him at Libra rising, which would be interesting because if that's true, then Mars would be going through Fuentes' first house, which would make a great deal of sense. And I've been trying to communicate this idea that Mars and Libra, the word social justice, the phrase, the 3 words, social justice warriors, like the left doesn't have a patent on that phrase. Like they just scooped it up because it was the most expedient, but they don't have a patent on that phrase because social justice is applicable to anything, right? They just decided to define social justice within the kind of the terms and conditions of a political movement, but it has nothing to do with the political movement. Mars in Libra is agnostic, and it is actively engaged in the demonstrative march for balance, equality, liberty, right? For better or worse. That's what Mars and Libra is about. It's like, okay, let's roll up our sleeves. Here's a cause. Now, it might be a good cause or a bad cause or the right cause. Doesn't matter. It's a cause. And that's what Mars and Libra. Now, if there's some refinement involved and there's a target involved and there's clearly some injustice involved, well, Mars and Libra takes on a massive dimension. And so when we look at things like immigration, wherever you are on the whole immigration policy thing, and you're looking at, oh, well, okay, they may have slowed down the tsunami of human flesh coming through the border. However, they have increased the H-1B visas. So they're being very serendipitous, not serendipitous. They're being very sly about surreptitious about the whole thing. So on the one hand, they're showing, yeah, we're really tough on immigration. On the other hand, they're like, come on, we need more of these workers because we need cheap coders before we go full on AI coding, right? And so that's when Mars and Libra comes into play, and it's people look at it and go, no, this is bullshit. We're not gonna take this anymore. And you get that trine with Uranus, and you get a lot more people moving in one direction than another. Let's put it that way, right? There's not a lot of people going against the tide with a Mars-Uranus trine. Now, apparently they've got some kind of protest lined up this weekend. Trump is now deploying federal troops on the streets of D.C., which he can, by the way. Like, it's the one area of the country where he could actually deploy troops, get rid of the homeless, start a curfew. Are people like upset about that? Do you feel like it's a bit of an overreach on his part? Here's my feeling. My feeling is that a lot of times these are like test markets, and they'll see how much they can get away with. And if they can get away with snatching up people, who knows what they do with them, just to give the cosmetic appearance of a cleaner, safer environment, they will do it. They will do it. They will not hesitate. If they get away with it in Washington, well, let's try this in New York, or let's try this in San Francisco. And there are people, and this is the challenging part, there are people who will applaud that because they have been burdened by, and it's unfortunate, but they've been burdened by the homeless, who are also the jobless, who are also addicted to hardcore drugs like fentanyl, and they don't know what to do. They're at their wits' end, and all of a sudden somebody's coming along with an answer. It's like, we're going to clean it up. Great. We're tired of looking at it. Go ahead and do it. But like, at what cost will that, will that take? Like, is there a plan in place? What do you do with these people? Where do they go? What kind of treatment do they have? Do they have jobs waiting for them? I mean, these are all much bigger systemic issues versus I'm going to federalize the police and just make sure that there's no more homeless on the streets. Yeah, I get it, right? Like, China does it. China doesn't put up with a lot of homeless. I mean, there are pockets, but it's few and far between. And I don't know what they do. Maybe they harvest their organs. I don't know. But we're in this wave right now, and this is why I think Fuentes is really popular with this Mars-Uranus trine. And of course, Mars is trining Pluto as well. So if you just look at this grand trine, I mean, we are in a pivotal cultural moment. And by the way, we are coming up on Fuentes' birthday, which is, I think, in 6 days. So he's had if you look at his chart, he's got all those planets in Leo, right? So he's had the sun going through and hitting all those Leo planets. So literally he's been getting lit up like a Christmas tree. And in, I believe, 6 days, he'll be going through his solar return. What's really fascinating about Fuentes is that his Leo sun is conjunct Donald Trump's Mars and Donald Trump's ascendant. And this is a really weird thing to put out there, but if there is somebody astrologically who could take Trump on, believe it or not, it's Nick Fuentes with his son right on Trump's. And I think on some level, like, Trump probably respects Fuentes, I think, in some ways. Whether he's a Fed or not, I don't know. That's to be debated. But this grand trine is the window, right? We're in this. It's like the Overton window has shifted. The Overton window around talking about Israel, Gaza, Palestine, Zionism, neoconism, right? Like, there was an Overton window where you could talk about it. It wouldn't get you in trouble. As long as you talked about it in those terms, more or less, you were okay. When you began to personalize Israel more and more, if you were somebody who had public office or was in the media, you were kind of fucked. But now it's kind of going beyond that. And it's getting to this point where, well, if these things are happening in Israel and they have a significant power base in the United States who supports their plans, their ideology, their resorts, whatever, and it gets no blowback or no pushback from virtually any other quote unquote Jewish group, then there's an issue where now all of a sudden people are talking about it in a very different kind of way. Very, very different kind of way. And that's what I mean by the Overton window moving, because the Overton window allowed for this discussion around the political ramifications of Zionism, the political ramifications of interventionalism, regime change, the neocons, post 9/11, political world order. Like, you could talk about those things. And that's kind of where the Overton window sort of stopped. And then it got moved. And now we're talking about things that are related to the Overton, related to that, but in many ways, much more specific than just, well, it's the Zionists or it's the neocons or do you know what I mean? Like this is a very interesting time. And I don't know if you can move the Overton window backwards because now people are having discussions about, well, who really rules the world? Who really calls the shots in the United States? And why does it seem like anytime we talk about America first, we're the ones that are punished? Because if America is going to be first, then some other country is going to be second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. And that's just not going to cut it, right? That is not going to cut it. And so this grand trine right now, I think is really, really interesting. We just have to look at it from a much more expanded view of the Overton window being moved. And, there are people who say, well, I don't hate this person. I don't hate that person. Look, in my perfect universe, we'd all get along. We'd all get along, right? We'd figure out where our commonalities are and, kind of hang out there. Where uncommonalities are, we see if we can figure that out. And if we couldn't, and it's like, hey, keep your uncommonality. I'll keep mine. We're good, right? So in a perfect world for me, there's like room for everybody. But what happens is that the way that this thing has de-evolved is that there seems to be a small cluster of control groups that make sure certain policies get moved forward, certain propaganda gets being reproduced, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there are groups within groups. So we're talking about a specific group, or Nick Fuentes is, or Tucker Carlson is, or Candace Owens is trying to be. And so this is where this grand trine is taking place, right here. And I've never seen anything like this before in my life. Like for the first time, people are having open discussions about who has power, how did they get the power, how do they stay in control of the power, and theoretically, how do we get the power back? Because for all intents and purposes, it looks like the American people are given this illusion of power. Right? We're given this illusion of choice. Yes, is it better with some things than they were in the past with others? Sure, absolutely. Like, would you rather have Kennedy than Kamala? I not Kennedy, Trump. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Kamala would be so bad and so cackling, right, that she wouldn't last. She wouldn't have lasted. And you would have gotten Tim Walz. And that guy would have had a nervous fucking breakdown. So they were doomed to fail. Period. End of story. But this is an interesting time. And you look at somebody like Nick Fuentes and you project out into the future. Where is this guy going to be 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now? It doesn't even matter. He may not even be here a year from now. Like he may piss somebody off and then there'll be all these people that be happy and they'll dance on his grave or whatever. But you don't want a martyr. I can tell you that right now. You don't really want a martyr. But it doesn't matter that in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, Nick Fuentes will reach this level of I don't know, stentorian wisdom or something like that. No, I don't think it matters. It doesn't really, is he going to get any, when I was young, I was a little, kind of a wise ass. There were just certain things that I had to point out. But now that I've gotten older, mellowed a little bit, I can kind of see where certain people are coming from. I mean, is that the path? Somebody like Nick Fuentes is here to burn fast and burn bright and burn no more. I'm telling you that right now. That is what he is here to do. I give this guy 3 years max. 3 years. He right now, he is. Remember I was talking about Prometheus? He is performing a Promethean feat. Right there. There's that sun way up front. He is literally stealing fire from the gods, right? He went right up to that menorah, and he got his little fire stick and said, "Hey, look what I got." Right? No, he's stealing fire from the gods. What Nick Fuentes is doing, whatever. He could be who the fuck knows. But his, I would say, his rhetoric and his talking points are right here in that Grand Trine. You can see it. And there are people, like, again, I've been trying to say that not one group has a patent on this idea of social justice. You know, it's like a knife. It cuts both ways. We also have that Mars-Saturn opposition, Mars-Neptune opposition. Moon's in Aries today. All you people with Aries moons out there, you get double heated. I'd like to be in a body with an Aries moon one of these days. What's that like? Everything is just on fire all the time, right? It's just... let's see. By tomorrow, we're going to have that Moon Chiron conjunction. It won't be exact, but we'll be within about 8 or 9 degrees. Keep your flame alive. Don't extinguish your flame. Moon Ceres conjunction. Keep your flame alive. Hold on. Excuse me. How do you keep your flame alive? Well, you got to be passionate about something. Is that Moon in Aries? Passionate about something. The Moon conjunction with Chiron is almost too passionate. Like, whoa, I didn't know I had that much passion. But keep your flame alive. Keep it burning. Has anybody gotten up and seen the Venus-Jupiter conjunction? It's still happening. Although Venus is separating just a little bit. And Mercury's free now. It's free. Free Mercury. It's like Free Willy. And it's in a nice little sextile there with Uranus. And it's also in a trine with Neptune and Saturn. Good communication day today. Today is one of those days where you can have difficult conversations. Keep your heart open and be open to different points of view. And have other people be open to those different points of view as well. It's a great day for that. Absolutely great day. I like today. The you know, and if you got to take a stand or make a stand on something, you know, do it. Just get your facts right and be clear. That's all you got to do. Okay. Shall we talk about our True Hemp Science star of the day? Why not? Why not? By the way, I can't recommend the sleep gummies enough. I did not take them last night, and I should have. Because the 2 nights before, not a problem. The sleep gummies they were my bedtime buddies. All right, here we go. Your True Hemp Science star of the day, of course, True Hemp Science is where you get the sleep gummies, is Danny Bonaduce. You remember old Danny? Danny had the same name that he did in the Partridge Family. Like, how did that happen? You know, David Cassidy was David Cassidy, but in the Partridge Family, He was Keith. Was Keith such a cooler name than David? I don't understand. Keith. I guess Keith is kind of a rock star feel. Well, David does too. I mean, like David Bowie. I mean, anyway. So True Hemp Science, your one-stop shop for all things CBD, including those blessed, wonderful sleep gummies. I should have taken them last night. Anyway, all you got to do, spend $100 or more, go and type in 15MINS, and you will get, guess what? You'll get a goodie bag with your order. So you get goodies within goodies. Who doesn't like that? $150 gets you free shipping. There's always a 30-day money-back guarantee. There are many places you can get CBD products. But I'm telling you, our guy Chris, he's an alchemist, separates himself out from everybody else. Okay, let's talk Danny. So I watched a couple of the Partridge Family reruns recently. And it was just Danny. I've also been watching reruns of Room 222. You know, that diverse, integrated, culturally hip Walt Whitman High. And there's a redhead in Room 222 named Bernie. He's got a big red fro. He's one of the few guys that are still alive from the show. Bernie got all the funny lines, or at least they thought they were funny. I didn't always think Bernie's lines were all that funny, even though goofy ass, long haired, redheaded Bernie looked goofy enough to pull him off. But it's the same thing with Danny Bonaduce, the redhead in the Partridge Family. He gets all the funny lines. It's like everybody else, with the exception of maybe Ruben, is Danny's straight man. He's given all the funny lines. He is the comedian of the show. He is the J.J. Walker of the Partridge Family. So let's take a look at his chart and see why that is, and perhaps the deleterious effects of stardom upon youth. So he's a Gemini rising. He's going to be very precocious, right? Like that's just the nature of Gemini rising. Verbal, articulate, especially when you're young. Learn to read fast, learn to communicate fast. And then his first house is mostly Cancer. So probably pretty good at remembering his lines. He's got a moon, Mercury trine. That's good for remembering lines. But what I'm really interested in is this Sun-Uranus conjunction down in the third house. And to me, that makes him really precocious. And not just precocious, but I think he was probably a total pain in the ass. Right? Like, you know, I get all the funny lines. I'm kind of the star of the show. I'm the only person that has red hair. I get to stand out, and I get to be this precocious, rebellious little kid. Well, extended beyond being just a little kid. And show this is who he is. And in a lot of ways, I don't know if you ever saw that A&E special, is it Being Bonaduce or whatever? I mean, it was crazy. It was, you got to watch his descent into like drug addiction, madness. It was wild. And you have to wonder whether or not these shows, just by being there, sort of introduce this factor of, you know, precarious mental health. He was at that time, he was a disc jockey up in Seattle, Washington. He had a pretty successful show. I think he was one of these morning guys. So he's got Mercury, right? Mercury here, it's his first planet. It's in Leo. So he's got the acting vibe. He's likes to communicate. He's got Mercury retrograde, it looks like. So he might have had a few learning disabilities, but again, by and large, once he moves from the Partridge Family, eventually matriculates into this radio world, very third house. It does reasonably well. The thing about Danny is when you look at him, he's got that Venus-Mars conjunction in Virgo, and he's got, he has that intersexual look. He can look a little femmy, he can look a little masculine. Now, as he got older, he definitely made sure he looked more masculine, right? He had a Van Dyke, lifted weights, boxed. He was definitely trying to go more Mars than Venus. And he has Venus retrograde. So at a certain point, that Venus retrograded past his Mars in his progressed chart. So Mars took over. Whereas when he's younger, he's more Venusian, right? He's softer, rounder. Let me show you a kind of a later day picture of Danny Partridge or Danny Bonaduce. So when you, I'll try to find a reasonable one where he's like, all right, we'll use this one. So this is him, definitely looking a bit more on the Mars side. Although you can see some kind. He's all fucked up now. Look at him now. Poor dude. That is just brutal. I mean, look. I mean, you see where Mars went. I think that was the name of his show, My Own Worst Enemy. And you can see, I think, in the in the progressed chart where Venus went retrograde and Mars moved ahead. See if we can find this. This would be a really, I think, good astrological teaching tool. I think I still have him here. Hold on. Where is he? I may have to re-enter him. Let's do this. Let's do this. We go here. Give me 1 second. Now I've got to flush this out. He's born, 1959? A year older than me. And let's see. 2 a.m. Upper Derby, Pennsylvania. That's an interesting place to be born. Upper Derby. There's a difference. Upper Derby. There we go. All right. So we're just I want to look at his progress chart. I want to see where this whole Venus thing, how it kind of resolves itself. And remember, we're just looking at this as a kind of a teaching tool. Yeah, I mean, so you could check it out here. Let me see. So if we look at his chart, you can see where Venus is retrograded, right? So in the natal chart, Danny's got that Venus at 16 Virgo, right? But in the progress chart, so again, you get that sort of more feminine, softer, although beneath it, you've got the Mars factor. But here, where is it? Danny progressed. Okay. Yeah. So here, look how far out Mars is. He's got Mars in Libra now. And Venus has finally gone direct in his chart. So it starts off at 16 retrograde, Virgo, and then it must go back to like 9 or 10 Virgo, and now it's direct. So you could tell that there's a distinct difference between how he is now. He's kind of lame now. And when I say lame, not lame in the sense that he's a lame, individual. His health is terrible. I don't know what he did. I don't know what he OD'd on. I got no clue. Right. But this Mars didn't just show up at 27 Libra, right? That's like 27 degrees plus another, 13 or 14 degrees in Virgo once it surpasses Venus. So you can see how Mars overtook Venus. I mean, just look at the pictures. I mean, that's all we got to do is just look at the pictures. And you'll see just how much Danny Bonaduce has changed. And it's Mars. It's Mars here, Venus way back here. Whereas before, they were right here. They were separated by 1 degree in his 4th house. So I would say that if you're a Danny fan, would that make you a fanny? Anyway, if you're a Danny fan, I think this guy's he's gonna come back. He's gonna get stronger. He's got that Sun-Mars conjunction. Mars is just gonna, kind of hootle along, and the Sun's gonna eventually catch up to that Mars, and I think that'll be a very powerful conjunction. And we may see like a 3rd or 4th act of Danny Bonaduce. I would not be surprised at all. He's a Leo rising right now, progressed Uranus on his ascendant. I don't think he's going to take this thing laying down. One astrologer's POV. Anyway, I just thought it would be a good teaching tool to show you how when Venus and Mars are yoked like that, you get that kind of intersexual, feminine, masculine, masculine, feminine, soft, more defined being. And then once Mars makes its break, he's pure Mars. I mean, he's pure Mars. I mean, he's lifting weights. Who did he box? Did he box somebody? He got his ass kicked. Anyway, that's Mars. So a bit of a teaching tool there for you in how these things work. All right. That's it for today. Thank you for being here. I think we got in a legit hour since StreamYard was playing nice. Let's see. Tomorrow's Thursday, Friday? Tomorrow's Friday, right? Tomorrow is Thursday. Oh, we got another day. Oh, how about that? Friday, it is the return of William Ramsey. And we'll be talking about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Jack Nicholson and Ken Kesey, and this return to asylums and mental institutions. So it'll be a good show. Come join us on the Friday Forecast. Always a good show with William. All right. You know what to do. Hit like if you like the show. Hit it. Thumbs up it. Share it with your friends. And I'll be putting my rough schedule up today over on locals as I begin to matriculate across the vast anima mundi of this country. And that will culminate with me being at Quite Frankly's event up in upstate New York. We are going to have a meetup in New York. It's at this French cafe. I like it. 3 of us have signed up so far. If you're going to be in and around the New York area, it's a Saturday afternoon around, I don't know, noon. Come join us. Come hang out with us, and we'll have a glass of Mouton Cadet or Bordeaux or something like that, and some escargot. How does that sound? Anyway, that's the 6th, and I'll be stopping along the way. I plan on doing one night in Nashville, probably Sunday night, and that's going to be the 31st. So we'll be doing Sunday night, and that'll be cool. A lot of you Labor Day people who have to have a day off the next day, you can hang out in Nashville on Sunday night. So there's that, and there may be 1 or 2 other stops along the way on the way out. And then, of course, I'll be up in that Rye, New York area. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for being here. You know the drill. Take care of yourself, and I really mean that. Do the best of my ability. Don't forget, Muktavati, your friends, for high blood pressure. Treat each other well. That's another thing. You know, we've really gotten away from that. And I always have to remind myself, am I being the best person I can be to another person? And sometimes I come up saying to myself, you could probably be better. Do better, be better. We can do it. All right. God bless you all. Love you all. Take care. Bye for now.